Hello everyone, this is your friend and I am back with a new fanfic part 2. The fanfic title is What If Naruto Met the Last Heir of a Secret Clan part 2. I hope you enjoy this fanfic, and if you enjoy this, so don't forget to subscribe my channel. Now let's start the fanfic. With the previous day flying by, the group spent their free time figuring out how quickly Yuri was able to learn things. She got the fireball just down and she had shadows down. It was the Byakugan that was giving her a hard time. It puzzled her. Maybe she should talk to Jiraiya after he comes back. He tends to know more about clans. She hadn't had a chance to ask Jiraiya anything since he had his hand full with teaching Naruto. Or, trying to parent Naruto. She and Shikamaru arrived in the CL together. They sit in the back and hang out. As far as they know, Naruto didn't pass, which makes her wonder how Jiraiya was going to reach that. He was due back tomorrow now. Jiraiya wasn't an overly strict person, but he was trying to guide Naruto into a better path. Yuri and Shikamaru are perfectly fine with sitting in silence. Shikamaru had his head down on the table while Yuri was looking around the classroom. Seeing that Sasuke was sitting in front of her, he has been acting weird lately. Yuri thinks it's because of the fan club having been more possessive about him. Until Yuri tastes cotton candy, she elbows Shikamaru and tilts her head to Naruto. Shikamaru frowns as he takes in Naruto being in the classroom. What are you doing here, Naruto? This isn't for dropouts. You can't be here unless you graduate. Shikamaru's comments. Yuri tilts her head and smiles a little, seeing that Naruto made it. But she has to wonder how he managed to do so. She hadn't had the chance to tell Naruto about the weird power she has. She should do that soon, but she is also going to be talking to Jiraiya as well. She could tell Naruto at that time as well. Oh yeah, do you see this? Do you see this? Open your eyes, Shikamaru. It's a regulation headband. We're going to be training together. How do you like that? Naruto points to himself and she notices the headband. Shikamaru huffs. Yuri shakes her head, a smile coming across her face. Now she doesn't have to worry about Naruto hiding at her house when Jiraiya comes back. Let me put it to you this way. I look great in this headgear, like it was made for me. Believe it. Naruto chuckles. Yuri can't help but glance at Hinata as Shikamaru comes and sits by her. She nods her head over to Hinata. Seeing Hinata staring at Naruto once again like she normally did, Yuri smiles and shakes her head. Looks like Hinata likes Naruto more than we thought. Yuri whispers to Shikamaru. He hums. Probably. Though, all these people having crushes on others at this age is such a drag. Yuri gets a grin on her face and leans closer to Shikamaru. Oh, you don't have any kind of a crush. What if I said I like Sasuke too? I was just shy like Hinata. With her being so close, she can see Shikamaru blush and gulp. Yuri being dense doesn't realize how badly this gets to Shikamaru. She even leans her cheek on her hand, not fully nose to nose with Shikamaru but close enough. Even he turns his eyes away from Yuri. A smirk on her face as she moves back and leans back in her seat. Giggling. It takes a moment for Shikamaru to even answer her. Why would you? Not like Sasuke's your type though. Yuri narrows her eyes at him. Oh yeah, and what's my type? Shikamaru doesn't get the chance to answer Yuri as Sakura and Ino enter the class, all huffing, but Yuri doesn't hear what they say. She frowns and shakes her head. Over the years, she has little patience with the girls. Of course, they ran here and are arguing. Yuri comments, causing Shikamaru to look over to the two girls. With a shake of her head, Yuri turns forward but keeps the girls in her vision. Seeing a faint red in Shikamaru's cheeks, to which she pokes at them and causes Shikamaru to look at her, causing her to laugh a little more, until she sees that Naruto notices them and blushes. Yuri rolls her eyes. Naruto knows how awful the girls are to Yuri and he still has a crush on Sakura. She hopes he will grow out of it. Though, by how Naruto is, she doubts it. Yuri sees Sakura finally notice Sasuke and runs over to where Naruto is sitting. Hey Sakura, how's it going? Naruto starts as he stands up to greet Sakura. Move it. She pushes Naruto out of the way. Good morning, Sasuke. Silence from Sasuke. Yuri lets out a sigh as she watches the events unfold before her. She notices Shikamaru putting his head down on the table. Mind if I sit next to you? Sakura asks. Yuri can already tell that Sasuke is annoyed with the girls. She glances back and forth between Sakura and Sasuke. While Yuri admits they might be a cute couple, Sasuke hates Sakura so much. Well, more finds Sakura and every other girl who isn't Yuri and Hinata annoying. And it doesn't help with Ino storms over. Back off, forehead. I'm sitting next to Sasuke. I was here first. Sakura counters. With a sigh, Yuri puts her cheek in her hand and continues to watch the show unfold. I walked into the classroom before you did. Everybody saw it. Ino gets a little louder. Dream on. Sakura gripes. Sadly, this begins to attract most of the other girls in the class. While Yuri would love to ignore all the girls, she can't. Deep down, Yuri loves this drama. While she didn't talk to a majority of girls in class, she wonders if they would all grow out of it. In the end, only one person can end up with Sasuke. For all they know, it could be Yuri. She shudders at the thought she just had. You're right, like she and Sasuke would work out. She doesn't even find him cute or anything like that. Though, she can't help but let her brain wander a little. Would she and Sasuke work out? Maybe, especially when they were at his home and he was interacting with his family. She shakes her head and refocuses. A girl she doesn't even know speaks up first. Actually, I got here before either of you. So did I. I'm sitting next to Sasuke. Another girl speaks up, causing Yuri to roll her eyes. Yet another girl speaks up. No, I am. Sasuke just sits in silence, not even paying attention to the girls. While they all fight about who gets to sit next to him. Yuri doesn't even listen to them anymore. It's pretty sad that they fight about this all the time. All the boys in the seal don't even pay attention to it anymore, which only shows how much the girls fight about Sasuke. Naruto groans and goes to squat right in front of Sasuke. Pretty much nose to nose. To which Yuri thinks things are about to change. She doesn't know why, but she elbows Shikamaru. What was? Naruto. Hey, stop glaring at Sasuke. Sakura yells, cutting Shikamaru off. Oh, you think something is going to happen? To which Yuri only hums. Naruto looks at them and goes back to glaring at Sasuke. All the girls start to argue. Yuri can't help but smile at them going crazy. It was no secret that Sakushu and Naruto hated each other. Sasuke thought Naruto was a loser and worried that Hinata had a crush on him. Sasuke would ask her questions and they all realized Hinata remembered a lot about Naruto from the conversations they have had. But that didn't stop Sasuke from being a little protective of Hinata. Yuri hears a random guy exclaim, "Whoa, hey, this is great," causing him to bump into Naruto, throwing him off balance. Sorry, did I bump you? To which Yuri continues to poke Shikamaru, causing him to look as his mouth hangs open. Yuri begins to giggle as she sees all the girls stunned. Her eyes drift to Hinata and the expression on her face makes Yuri feel a little bad. She knows Hinata likes Naruto, and seeing her crush kissing someone else has to hurt. What the? Sakura starts. Ino trails off as Yuri looks back to the scene in front of her. Everyone seems to have noticed the silence in the room and Yuri can see in the corner of her eyes everyone looking this way. She sees Kiba laughing in his seat and Choji eating some chips. Naruto and Sasuke break away and gag. While Naruto turns to see the girls about to fight him. They are vicious, the guy that bumped into Naruto states. Naruto, you are so dead. Sakura mutters, raising her fist up. Hey, whoa, it was an accident. Naruto puts his hands up and tries to smile. You're finished. Sakura cracks her knuckles. Hold on. Naruto doesn't even have time to move. Yuri looks at Sasuke and sees he has the smallest smirk on his face. One that tells Yuri for once Sasuke is glad the fan club is around. While Yuri normally would help him, She waits a moment. Jiraiya is right. Naruto needs to learn to grow up. Though she fears it won't happen overnight. Man, Naruto is an idiot. Should we help him? Shikamaru asks. Yuri nods her head. Probably. Standing up, Yuri clears her throat, causing all the girls to look at her and step away from Naruto. We've all graduated, right? Stop being childish. Everyone goes to their seats when they realize Yuri isn't going to back down. Somehow, Sakura manages to sit next to Sasuke. Yuri thinks she ran to the spot in the confusion. She takes her seat next to Shikamaru with Ino sitting on the other side. Finally, Iruka Sensei steps up to the front of the class, getting everyone to settle down and be quiet as he begins the lesson for today. As of today, you are all ninjas. To get here, you faced difficult trials and hardships. But that's nothing. What comes next will be far more difficult. Now you're only genin, first level ninja. All the genin will be grouped into 3-man squads. Each squad will be led by a junin, an elite ninja. Everyone gasps at different realizations. Yuri looks at Shikamaru, realizing there is a chance they won't be on the same team. Even with her and Naruto and Sasuke. She doesn't know why, but that scares her even more, knowing she might have to trust new people and explain her powers to people when she barely understands them herself. Ino speaks up to Sakura. Well, someone's got to be in Sasuke's group. I wonder who. I don't know. Sakura replies. Yuri decides to tease them. It'll most likely be me, seeing as you two could never keep up with me. This gets glares from both Sakura and Ino. We want each squad to have a balance of strengths and abilities, so that's how we set them up. I will now announce the squads. Iruka continues, skipping squad 1, seeing that number is still taken. He goes through and Yuri notices all the clan children are near the bottom of the list, which surprises her. Squad 7. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto celebrates being on a team with Sakura, but Sakura celebrates being on Sasuke's team, which gets a chuckle out of Yuri as she glances at Hinata, seeing her look of disappointment. Next, Squad 8. Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka and Shino Aburame. Squad 9. Isamu Haruno, Kenji Okawa and Yuri Chibana. Shikamaru turns to Yuri and gives her a look, to which Yuri can only shrug her shoulders. She doesn't know the other two well enough. Kenji was a loner minus Sakura, and Isamu had his own friend group that were in different squads. Sakura turns around to Ino and gives her the peace sign, cause Yuri to roll her eyes, leaving it to Sakura to rub it in Ino's face she got on Sasuke's team. But that only leaves 3 people left by Yuri's count. And she cracks a smile after all. Ino is upset. Ah, how did you get in his group? Sakura doesn't say anything, which just frustrates Ino more. Before Ino can seethe anymore, Shikamaru speaks up, which grabs Yuri's attention. I don't get it. What do you see in a guy like that? He's not so special. Yuri can't argue with Shikamaru. And she wants to interject about how having Sasuke on a team would be a strategical advantage, much like Shikamaru. Sasuke thought out moves and outcomes, though on a lesser scale than Shikamaru. It showed in their spars, which Shikamaru was famous for giving up when he knew he was trapped. You are so beyond clueless, Shikamaru. Don't you get it? Ino places her chin on her hand. Yuri knows she's acting coy and baiting Shikamaru. No, I don't get it, because I'm not a girl. Shikamaru counters. You're so full of yourself. Jealousy's a terrible thing. I'd hate to be on your squad. Ino remarks. Shikamaru doesn't say anything and only looks at Yuri. He realized the same thing she did. Ino and Shikamaru were to be on the same squad, especially given their families. Ino was in for it. Now Squad 10. Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara. Iruka continues. Ino puts her hand on her head, causing Yuri to laugh a little. Hey, did you say something about hating to be on my squad? Shikamaru teases, earning a glare from Ino. And Choji Akamichi. Those are all the squads. Iruka finishes. Iruka Sensei. Why does a great ninja like me have to be in the same group with a slug like Sasuke? Naruto speaks up, with Sakura glaring at him. There is a pause as Yuri leans over to Shikamaru. Wanna make a bet? Sure. How long Team 7 last? Shikamaru snorts. Yuri nods her head, but Iruka speaks up before they can finish. Sasuke had the best scores of all the graduating students. Naruto, you had the worst scores. Some of the CL laughed at Naruto's expense. To create a balanced group, we put the best student with the worst student. Naruto groans as Sakshu speaks. Just make sure you don't get in my way, loser. I'm going for 3 months. Enough time for them to fight enough. Shikamaru says. I win, you have to go on a date with someone of my choice. Yuri snickers, but Naruto of course keeps talking. Hey, what did you say? Naruto yells. Hard of hearing. Sasuke comments quietly. And Yuri realizes something. They will have to work together. No way would the village let clan children, especially one that had a huge killing, fail. Yuri knows that while they hate each other, it might be good for both of them to learn from each other. After all, Yuri noticed a few similarities between them. I think they make it. I have a feeling they will. Oh, I win. Yuri looks back to Shikamaru, not realizing how close their faces are. You lazy bones have to pull a prank of some kind with Naruto, no matter what. Shikamaru groans a little as he leans back, and his cheeks are a little red. Yuri tilts her head as she notices Ino looking between the two of them. A strange look comes over her face. Of course, Yuri ignores it. Nothing Ino does bothers her, and Ino shouldn't be concerned about anything. Knock it off, Naruto. Sit down. Sakura pulls Yuri out of her thoughts. Ahem. Iruka clears his throat. After lunch, you'll meet your new Junin teachers. Until then, CL dismissed. Yuri gets up and looks at Shikamaru. Final lunch together? Sure. Let me grab my team and you grab yours. Shikamaru turns and sees Ino shaking her head. And Yuri sees Sasuke bolt out of the room. She goes over to Kenji first as he is still sitting in his seat. She might as well learn about her team, seeing as she was hoping she could be with maybe people she already knew, but that doesn't mean she can't make new friends, right? Hey Kenji, want to eat lunch together? Yuri gives him a smile. We are eating with Team 10 too. Since we all might work together in the future. Kenji looks at her and sighs. He stands up and only stands there. Yuri only stares at him while he stares back, and it takes her a moment to realize that he is going to follow her. She nods and looks for Isamu, but she doesn't see him anywhere. With a frown she looks around with Kenji following her. But she can't seem to find him. She turns to Kenji. Well, maybe we can just have lunch with Team 10. We are on the same team. Maybe Isamu wanted to eat lunch with his friends one last time. It was what she was doing with Shikamaru today. Seeing the next few days she didn't know if she would even see any of her friends. Regardless, Yuri and Kenji walk in silence to the spot she was sure Shikamaru was going to be eating. They walk out and she tastes Shikamaru and she knows Sasuke is in the area as well. Sadly, they walk in as Ino is going on a rant. Alright, if we're in the same group you're going to have to follow my lead. That's the only way it'll work. Yeah, Shikamaru mumbles as Yuri goes and sits next to Shikamaru. Kenji walks to the other side and leans against the railing. Yuri looks at Shikamaru and sees him rolling his eyes. Telling her that Ino has been going off for a while about how she is in charge and things have to go her way. Which, Yuri already knows that's going to cause a lot of issues. Why don't you lead us to some barbecue, Ino? Choji comments, getting a giggle out of Yuri. I think that is a good idea. A good leader listens to their group and does what's best. Yuri chimes in. She looks at Kenji. Don't worry, I don't want to be a leader. But Kenji doesn't even look up and she wonders what is wrong with that guy. He hasn't said a word to her or even smiled. And Yuri thought she was pretty funny. Ino facepalms. Hopeless. Getting Yuri to shake her head. Shikamaru notices Naruto sneaking up to Sasuke and pokes Yuri. She tastes the cotton candy and turns her attention to Naruto. She wonders what stupid thing he is about to do now. Naruto. Shikamaru says, grabbing Ino and Choji's attention. Huh. Ino turns her head around to face the correct way. Yuri glances and sees Kenji leaning against the rails closest to her. She guesses everyone is curious about Naruto doing this. Naruto jumps through the window and attacks Sasuke. But the window closes so they aren't able to see what is happening. Kenji speaks low enough only for Yuri to hear, that Naruto is an idiot, but he must have skill to have passed. All he can do is improve. With a smile Yuri nods. Being in last in the same team as Sasuke, Naruto can improve faster than everyone else. Yuri knew he was determined to do so. Especially to get attention and respect. While many people didn't respect him and ignored him, Yuri could see him doing the dumb things for attention. But even she doesn't think this is the way to go. Naruto, if you so much as scratch him, you're on my enemy list forever. Ino comments. Yuri rolls her eyes. She leans over to Shikamaru. I think Ino not being in the same group as Sasuke will be good for her. Shikamaru doesn't answer as he is watching the window. There is more fighting in the room. While Yuri wished she could see what was happening in there, Shikamaru warned her that showing her powers could be bad for her in the long run. So she remains silent as none of them seem to want to talk with her. Which, she isn't too happy about it. Suddenly everything stops. What happened? Ino asks. Leak they would have the answer to that. All five look at the window, wondering who would come out of it. Eventually Sasuke comes out, or a Sasuke looks alike. Yuri can't tell. He beat Naruto without even breaking a sweat, Shikamaru comments. Leaning back as Sasuke moves away. What's you expect? Naruto against my boy Sasuke. No contest. Ino gloats. She turns around and goes back to her lunch. But Yuri notices something. The cotton candy taste is leaving. The broth taste isn't. Yuri tugged on Shikamaru to whisper. That wasn't Sasuke leaving. She leans back and finishes her lunch. Kenji and I should head to the classroom. Shikamaru looks at her. You sure about it? I would never lie about that, Shikamaru. Yuri smirks and stands up. Walking away, not even checking if Kenji is following her. Yuri sits in the empty classroom. Seeing as Kenji wasn't much for speaking, they are waiting for their sensei and Isamu. Yuri didn't know what to say to Kenji, so she just remained silent. Wondering how long before she had to tell her team about her powers. She should talk to Jiraiya first about it, as she didn't want it getting out about what she could do. Shikamaru had a point at the very least, people would panic if they found out Yuri could copy them. It was why she was struggling to speak to Kenji. She was better around people she knew. The door opens and she sees Isamu. Hello teammates. He smiles at them and sits on the desk Yuri is sitting at. Hi Isamu. Good to see you again. Yuri offers a smile. Don't tell me I have two very quiet people in the class. Come on. We are genin. He looks over to Kenji who shrugs. What was that for? Kenji looks at Isamu. I just think you're loud. This causes both Yuri and Isamu to pause and look at Kenji. And Kenji only stares back at the two of them. They remain in silence, only staring at each other. Until the door opens and all three genin look over to the door and see a taller woman standing there. Upon looking at her more, Yuri notices the dark brown hair that goes all the way down her back. With steel gray eyes and a sword at her hip. Yuri tastes grapefruit. Such a strange thing to taste. All of them remain silent as they stare at each other. Finally the woman sighs. I'm Asami Izumi, your sensei. Personally, I think you are all in for it. Isamu pouts and crosses his arms while Yuri looks at Kenji, who only remains in his spot. Now, if you will do a proper introduction. Kenji raises his hand. Pass. Oh yeah. That academy test. Nothing. A monkey with enough chakra could pass. I am here to make sure you have what it takes to get to the next level. You aren't genin yet. Oh, and only those who PCAN move on. There is a cold expression on the woman's face. So, Isamu begins. We have to pee your test to fully be genin. Asami nods. Yes. Meet at the location on this paper. Oh, and don't open it until you get home. Dismissed. Yuri is left to only stare at the woman. What is her game? But she sees Kenji leave and she watches Isamu shrug and move away from her, leaving her to stare at Asami-sensei. But she just lets out a sigh and gets up, exiting the classroom and seeing Kenji standing in front of Isamu at the end of the hall. Let me through, jerk. Isamu says. Yuri sighs and jogs over to the boys. What's going on here? Kenji looks at Yuri with icy green eyes and she frowns. Listen, Aruka said we are in teams, right? Why would she give us notes individually? Isamu and Yuri look at each other and then back at Kenji. She doesn't know if she understands what he is getting at. She holds her note and looks back to him. Clearly there is a plan we don't know about. My parents were talking about this when they thought I wasn't home. They were worried I wouldn't be able to work with anyone else. Kenji crosses his arms and stares at Isamu. Work with anyone? That's what I am known for. Isamu exclaims. Yuri puts a hand on her hip. So, you want to actually get to know who we are? Isamu puts a hand up and points past Kenji. I say we have some dinner. Just sit and talk for an hour or two. Yuri nods and Kenji steps out of the way. The trio makes their way to the place silently. Even sliding into the booth, Yuri notices Kenji, Isamu and herself don't have the headbands on their head. But Kenji's spot is the most strange to her. Kenji, why do you wear your headband on your hand? She looks up to Kenji and he pulls his glove down. It has to do with my clan's just you. Kenji pauses and lets out a sigh. We have a special type of just you, and it isn't common here. Isamu leans closer to him. Oh, I love hearing about clan things. All my clan has is chakra control, not the most exciting thing in the world. But please go on. Well, I can basically make my body a magnet. I haven't been able to do anything past that yet, but in time I will learn. Kenji's comment intrigues Isamu. Oh, if we become genin, I have some suggestions. Teamwork and everything. But number one, if you can call one metal object, maybe you can use that to be sure we never get lost. Isamu smiles and orders some food for the table. But, what about you? His eyes drift over to Yuri. What can your clan do? There is a moment of silence. Yuri stares at both the boys. I don't know honestly. I wasn't taught anything before there was an attack and I ended up here. Isamu nods his head. I see. I hope we can help you figure it out. I personally love to develop justice, though none of them have worked yet. I don't have a lot of chakra to begin with and I don't have anything special in terms of justice. My parents think I should be a medic, but where is the fun in that? I can't fight like that. Maybe Sensei would let me learn on her sword. Idiot. Kenji mumbles, getting a glare from Isamu. What did you say? I think you're an idiot. Both of you. Kenji states calmly as some of the food comes. Isamu huffs and reaches out his hand to Yuri, who pulls it away. She was only fine with Shikamaru, Sasuke, Naruto or Hinata touching her since she didn't know what would happen if she touched anyone else. But that only causes Kenji to also grab her hand. Why did you avoid Isamu's hand? Kenji asks. Yuri rips her hand away. He tastes like some beef stir-fry she enjoys making. I don't like being touched. Isamu and Kenji both stare at her. And she doesn't like it. So she lowers her eyes and eats some food, debating if she should just leave right now and see them at the test. Sorry. She glances up and sees Kenji. My cousins are all younger than me and I guess I'm used to stepping in as the oldest. Slowly Yuri nods. And the rest of their meal is spent in silence. Or maybe it isn't, but Yuri is worried about them learning about what she can do. If Kenji found out, she is sure that he would tell his family and it would get out what she can do. Once she gets home, she opens the note. She only sees coordinates. And a message. The key is hidden in the sky, only the wind could unlock it. She shakes her head and goes to bed. The next morning, Yuri makes it to her spot and waits. And waits. But she lets her mind wander a little more. even trying to think about the note Asami-sensei left her. Yuri wondered why leave a note with a specific place in mind for her. It wasn't sitting right with her. Not to mention that she didn't know why her sensei's taste was so strong. Maybe because she is a Jonin, and she could be a higher level of Jonin. Letting out a sigh, Yuri raises her arms above her head. Looking around her little area, she can't even taste Asami-sensei. Which makes her wonder something. Why would she give them notes? And not tell them all the same thing? Yuri snickers, trying to piece it together. For a second she gets a taste of grapefruit. She turns around and looks all over the place, but it moves away from her. She just knows it might have been Asami-sensei. When she notices Kenji and Isuma aren't coming, the words about opening the notes at home ring in her head. Why? To separate them. Yuri can't tell the end goal of Asami-sensei, but she knows this could be their test. Along with Kenji mentioning teamwork. That is a huge thing in this village. Teamwork. It was drilled into them since they were young. Teamwork is the most important thing in the village. It's why they put them in teams. Meaning, she needs to find her team. All alone in the forest, Yuri figures she can try the Byakugan, since no one is around. Even a second of it would help her maybe see Kenji or Isamu's chakra. Making sure she is alone, she activates the Byakugan. Seeing a chakra signature a little ways away, she started in that direction. She doesn't know any of the rules on this test. She begins to run a little, she doesn't know whose chakra she was picking up. Asami's pav. Standing in a tree, Asami smiles. It's been a few years since she had fun with a team. And she noticed them talking, but she had some very interesting students. This year was stacked with clan children, which Asami should check in with Asuma after his test. She knows he has the Ino Shika Cho combo. And Kakashi has the worst combo she had seen for a while, and Kurenai has 3 clan children, all could do well together. But those aren't Asami's concerns. She has Isamu Haruno, a boy that was in the middle of the class. Nothing special to him seeing as he and his cousin were both low in the chakra pool. Haruno. Nothing stands out to her when she hears the name. Other than the girl being crazy over one of Kakashi's students. Wait, those two are on the same team. Asami begins to move and thinks she can mess with the female student she has. From what Asami saw, the girls were all at a loss in her mind. That is until the girl, Yuri Chibana, begins to look around. Asami doesn't pause in her movement as she thinks. So, Chibana is a sensory-type ninja. When she was looking into her students, there wasn't much information on her. Which made things fun for Asami. She locks onto Kenji Okawa. A strange young man. She heard he didn't have many friends, and he didn't talk too well. But she also heard his just you was something that could be feared in the long run. He could make himself a magnet. He just needed to learn how to use it. One way to test it out though, Asami jumps down and pulls out her sword, not unsething it, but she could knock him out. Sensei. Kenji stands there and stares at her. Asami smiles. While she doesn't want to speak too much, she would dangle something. Oh, by the way, you only have 2 hours to figure it out. With that Asami moves, getting behind Kenji as he manages to pull a kunai out before he gets whacked in the head. Asami smiles, but comes back with another attack. Kenji fights her off until she lands a hit on him. He stumbles back a few steps and only looks at her. But he moves to keep defending himself. Asami smiles and jumps to the trees. Vanishing quickly. Yuri's pav. Running into the bush, she pauses. Grapefruit. Yuri sees pink hair as she only tastes grapefruit. She knows Asami-sensei is around. She hides in the bush and quietly pulls out a shuriken. Wanting to watch what is about to happen. She doesn't remember, but she is sure Isamu placed low in Taijutsu. Kenji was the best of the 3 of them. She sees the sword once again on Asami's hip. She doesn't know what she is doing with it, but Yuri expects a close combat type. Ah, a Haruno, not a particularly strong clan and small, much like the Okawas. If you hope to pass, I suggest figuring out the clues. Asami moves, pulling her sword to attack. That's when Yuri knows she needs to move. Throwing her shuriken right as Isamu is going to get hit, Yuri runs to a new spot a little ways away and pulls out another weapon. Wondering why Asami is attacking Isamu. It isn't something that makes sense to her. If Yuri wasn't here, Isamu might have been out. Oh, Asami looks around and goes after Isamu once again. Again, Yuri throws a weapon and Asami locks into her location. Asami moves fast. Wickedly fast. 1 second she is by Isamu and the next Yuri is staring at her feet. She holds her breath. The quickness of Asami startled her. Yuri can't even move to grab another weapon, until she hears a chuckle. And she has a second to react before she hears something coming through the bush. She darts out and moves towards Isamu, making it to him as she turns to face Asami. She snickers and frowns. Why is she attacking her students? Oh, thanks Yuri. Isamu says. I'm not part. Yeah, I can tell. Yuri cuts in. Listen, why would she attack us? When she knows we can't beat her. Asami Sensei slowly turns to the two. Yuri keeps her eyes on Asami Sensei, while she makes sure that Isamu is behind her. She hears Isamu pulling something out of his bag. Yuri pulls out a weapon and gets ready. I don't know, it would be strange. Isamu admits. In a blink of an eye, Asami Sensei is in front of Yuri. She barely has time to defend herself when Asami Sensei strikes her. But she notes how her sword isn't drawn. They remain there for a moment. She puts all she has into keeping her away. But she can feel that Asami Sensei is only testing her. Yuri doesn't understand what is happening, and she knows Isamu would have failed if she hadn't shown up. Asami Sensei backs away and Yuri sees it because Isamu tried to attack, so she had to move away or get hit. Ah, good. I would hate for it to be that unfair. Asami Sensei purrs, jumping further away into the trees, leaving Yuri and Isamu alone in the forest, though Yuri can tell that Asami Sensei is near. She hasn't left the area yet. Yuri stays on guard and looks to Isamu, watching over his shoulder. The taste of grapefruit is a little less, but she is around. You heard her right. Why attack us? What was with the message? And where the hell did you come from? Isamu begins to ask. With a sigh, Yuri needs to answer. I did. I don't know why she attacked us. It was random, but she knows it's unfair to attack us individually, so why separate us? And Yuri pauses. It's part of my family justice. I still don't know much about it. Isamu only stares at her for a long moment as she looks around. She can't do what she did before and track Kenji. Since Shikamaru and Sasuke both believed it would cause a panic, and from Hinata being freaked out as well, Yuri wasn't keen on telling anyone else. If she stayed as a team with them and she talked with Jiraiya, Yuri would talk to them. She mentally shakes her head. They needed Kenji since he was probably the best fighter out of them. But Yuri thinks of something. Which way did Asami Sensei come from? Yuri asks, looking fully at Isamu. Asami's taste hadn't moved yet, closer or further away. As though she was seeing what they would do. Yuri just needs Kenji. Isamu is smart, but he was around people who weren't her. Same with Kenji. But they need to work together. That is what Yuri had figured out. Especially since the academy preached teamwork and being part of something. Isamu thinks a little. I suppose this way. He points south of where they are standing. Why? We need Kenji. Come on. Yuri starts moving in that direction and Isamu follows her. She doesn't listen to him, or even if he is speaking to her. She pauses and looks back at Isamu. She presses her lips together and tries to think about what to do. Yuri has no idea which way to go though, she never was good at this. She could get around the Nara's forest, but other than that, she didn't know where she could go. Isamu only looks at her. Now what? I thought you were good at tracking. Not really. Yuri mumbles. We should try. There is a pause. Sasuke made fun of Yuri for not being able to tell which direction is which, and she was only lucky in getting to places. Which, Yuri couldn't argue with. Normally Shikamaru or Sasuke led them places. The only person worse than her was Naruto at finding things. Yuri looks around and notices the taste of grapefruit is almost gone. Meaning Asami Sensei is moving away from them. Even so, Yuri doesn't like it too much. Look, are you even good at this? Isamu asks. Yuri shakes her head. I'm not the best with directions. With a hum, Isamu begins to look around the area. Trying to find something, Yuri decides to look as well. Though, she doesn't know what she should be looking for. Even in the academy, her worst score was always tracking. She cheated off Sasuke and Naruto since they were pretty good at it. Yuri just didn't understand it all too well. Even looking here, everything looks like a forest. Aha! Isamu exclaims. Yuri comes over and doesn't know what she is looking at. She looks at Isamu. Tracking. They are footprints leaving from this way. Meaning, Isamu pauses, but when Yuri only looks at him, he lets out a sigh. Seems I found something you can't do. Judging by the size and direction, my guess is that it's Asami Sensei leaving from where Kenji was. Meaning we can find him. Yuri nods her head, so we follow to see if at the end of the trail he is there. Isamu nods his head and takes the lead. Yuri doesn't want to use her abilities to find Kenji, seeing as she doesn't know how to track. Seems like Isamu does, which would be good for the team. Since Yuri is bad at it and she doesn't know about Kenji and his ability to track. A few times they stop and Isamu looks in the area. Yuri keeps tasting the grapefruit and can tell it's getting stronger. She looks around and grabs a weapon. Isamu, we might want to move faster to find Kenji. Isamu gives her a look. Asami Sensei is closing in on us, I think. How do you know that? Isamu plants himself and crosses his arms. Meaning, Yuri needs to throw him a bone. Fine. One of my clan's abilities is to taste chakra. Seeing as Asami Sensei is a Jonin, I can taste her chakra. My guess is the closer she is to us, the stronger the taste is at the moment. Isamu takes this information in. Can you taste Kenji or I? Is that how you found me? With her lips pressed together, Yuri shakes her head. I can't taste Genin or what I'm guessing are low-level Chunin. Only this year was I able to taste Iruka Sensei's chakra. I have been told by Shikamaru I am just lucky sometimes. She can taste the grapefruit but it isn't coming any closer to her. So she leaves it for a moment. Especially while Isamu is taking in all the information. Yuri keeps looking around and waiting. She needed to tell Isamu something, especially if she is going to stay on the same team as Ismao. But she wanted to talk to Jira a little before telling her team anything about her. Seeing as she doesn't fully understand her powers. I see. After this, I do want to know how you found me. Isamu smiles and takes off. Yuri grumbles to herself as she takes off after him. Knowing the grapefruit is getting closer to her. She picks up speed and sticks close to Isamu. Following him until he barrels into a different figure. Yuri is able to stop and see that Isamu and Kenji rammed into each other. But Yuri doesn't taste the grapefruit anymore. I've been looking all over for you too. Kenji stands up and dusts himself off. Luckily Yuri found me, though it seems like she can't track to save herself. Isamu gives Yuri a look as he remains on the ground. Yuri crosses her arms. Don't stay on the ground. We don't know where Asami Sensei is. What does he mean? Kenji narrows his eyes and shakes his head. Isamu speaks up as he stands up. Oh, she can taste people's chakra, minus Genin. She can't taste Asami Sensei, which means Asami Sensei is away right now. Kenji only stares at Yuri. And you can't do tracking. Yuri shifts a little. She doesn't exactly like that they are both judging her that she can't track people. They don't know that she managed to cheat a little in school to make sure she stayed with her friends. She never needed to track in her home, they never did since they never left. No, I get lost. Yuri answers. Her face turns a little red as Isamu gets in her face and puts his arm around her. This gets a laugh out of Isamu. Especially when she knocks his arm away from her. She turns away and shakes her head. How thick-headed can they be? Sure, she isn't good at tracking, but she can do other things. Plus, Isamu can't even fight. Why is she being criticized for things? Hey, did you run into Asami-sensei? Kenji asks. Isamu moves away from Yuri and she tastes something new. Honey. She didn't know anyone who had that taste. She looks at Isamu. He tastes like honey, and she likes that. But that means she needs to be careful. After she got a taste of someone, it was when she might absorb their chakra. Isamu doesn't need to know anything about her yet. But she shakes her head as Isamu speaks. Yeah, she said something about hints, and how she would hate for things to be that unfair. She said we had 2 hours to figure it out. Kenji nods his head. There is a pause. She thinks for a moment. She isn't telling them all the same thing, and Yuri remembers how she tasted grapefruit but it went away. And how there were hints when she was listening to Isamu. But that makes her question why they were put on a team. She needs to work this out. And unlike Shikamaru, she has to talk it out. That's why she separated us. Yuri says. She looks at the boys. Think about the other teams. Team 7 is a battle team, Team 8. Sensory type. Team 10 is the Ino Shika Cho. Capture and interrogate. We are a wild card team. Kenji was number 2, I'm guessing. Isamu is good at tracking and creation and I am an unknown. Asami-sensei wants us to work together even though we are wild. Kenji takes this for a moment. So what are these hints? Yuri shrugs her shoulders. She needs to know all the hints. While she still struggles with getting around the village, she might know something. She hung around with Shikamaru or Sasuke a lot. Well, when I was tracking where you were, the path seemed to be obvious. Which was strange. Isamu crosses his arms. Yuri thinks about it a little more. Even thinking back to the notes. Why the notes? What was the point of the notes? Asami-sensei gave them all a note and maybe they didn't have the same thing. Yuri remembered her note clearly since it was strange. What about the notes? Yuri asks. Both the boys look at her and think about it. Seems no one thought about the notes. Which makes her think they play a role here. Asami-sensei separated them for a reason, and that reason could be many things. Not to mention they have 2 hours. Who knows when she told Kenji that information? Yuri looks up, realizing she had no idea how much time passed. Mine said something about the flower blooming at the lowest point. Kenji speaks up first. Isamu shakes his head. The path is clear, but a cloud might be in the way. The key is hidden in the sky, only the wind could unlock it. Furrowing her brows, Yuri is confused. By the look in the boy's eyes, so are they. Is this a riddle? Yuri is good at riddles. She knows how to work through riddles so they make sense. Her question is, what order do they go in? She thinks hers is last. Could it be that they said it in order? How do they play together though? The three look at each other. But Isamu raises his hand. Oh, there is a flower valley a little ways away from here. Its path is actually one with plenty of flowers. The specific flower is placed at the bottom of the valley and blooms midwinter. Isamu explains. How do you know that? Kenji asks. This gets a blush from Isamu. Sakura and Ino used to talk about flowers all the time. Plus Ino knows a lot about flowers. Yuri nods her head and looks around. Which way are we going? She sees the boys both frown at her. Which causes her to frown and cross her arms. We thought you took that class, Kenji starts. All girls take it right before the academy. Isamu finishes. Yuri shakes her head. Don't you remember me coming to the village? I came in after the academy started. Both the boys look down and sigh. Yuri feels bad for being useless, but she never took the chlore knew it existed. Hinata never talked about it, but she doesn't know it. Both the boys seem to be upset that she doesn't know about it. Luckily I know the way. I just don't understand the part, Isamu begins. But suddenly Yuri tasted grapefruit. She pulls out her weapon and looks around. Even getting into a stance that she is ready to fight. Causing all conversation to halt. Grapefruit is all she says. She doesn't know if the boy will understand it. But she can only hope they will understand. Asami-sensei is near and she might attack them. She attacked Isamu and she said something about it being fair. The bushes move and Yuri throws a kunai. But she doesn't hit anything. Isamu, start leading the way. Kenji yells. Isamu begins to run as she follows him as well. The grapefruit was still close by. She pulls out another kunai. She notices Kenji had pulled out a weapon as well, so he is ready. Yuri moves as Isamu is moving towards the flower. Seeing all the flowers, Yuri smiles slightly. She has to admit they were pretty. Hinata would like that. Ah, I seem to have a smart group this year. A voice hums around them. Yuri stops and goes with her gut, throwing her kunai to her right. There is a beat when the trio are waiting for a moment. Hearing movement, Asami jumps to be in front of Isamu. Kenji moves forward and gets in front of Isamu, while Yuri remains in the back. They need to fight off Asami. She only stands there for a moment with a smile on her face. There is no movement from anyone for a second. And then Asami attacks the trio, engaging with Kenji first and quickly moving onto Yuri. But before she gets to Yuri, Isamu tries to shoulder check Asami-sensei. While Isamu's plan doesn't work too well, it does make Asami-sensei move away from the trio, giving Yuri a moment to pull out two shuriken and throw them. One hits Asami's sword and the other she moves out of the way for, giving Kenji enough time to jump in and go for a punch. Sadly, Isamu is also going in for a punch, which would have worked if they were faster and Asami-sensei hadn't moved out of the way. But a timer goes off as Asami-sensei pulls out a clock. Huh, time's up. Yuri looks at Kenji, who is rubbing his shoulder, and Isuma, who is holding his jaw. She sighs and pulls out a cream that Hinata gave her and rubs Isuma's face before she notices something. The taste of honey is getting stronger. Just rub the cream in and it should get better. Yuri stands up and hands Kenji some of the cream. Their hands brush for a moment, and the taste is so different. She again retracts her hand. It tastes like beef now. All three look to their sensei. I'm disappointed. Yuri can't track, Isamu can't fight, and Kenji can't communicate. Shame. Asami-sensei sits down on a branch. Yuri looks down. She didn't fully care about being a ninja. She thought it would be fun. But she didn't want to be left behind by her friends. She balls her hands up and waits. She can't even look up at Asami-sensei. Yuri very rarely failed at anything in her life. So this being a failure wasn't something she wanted. It didn't feel good, and if she hadn't slowed Isamu down they might have found each other sooner, but of course Yuri couldn't explain how she found Isamu. Not without Isamu and Kenji possibly freaking out. A shame you are all stuck with me. We will be correcting those. You passed. There is a moment of silence as Yuri looks up and sees Kenji and Isamu frozen in their spots as well. They passed. But they didn't finish the task given to them. In fact, they spent more time looking for each other than anything else. At the moment though, Yuri doesn't care. She was going to be a genin. They look at her as she smiles. Beginning to jump up and down, Yuri goes over and hugs both the boys. Asami-sensei jumps down and takes a seat. Now, we do introductions. This causes a pause in the celebration as Yuri moves away from the boys and tilts her head. They never introduced each other yesterday. She hadn't seen anyone else from Chlor, even her own friend group. Well, what should we say? Isamu asks when the three genins sit down. How about your name, a fun fact, and something you hate? For example, I'm Asami Izumi. I am a sword master, and no one is able to take my sword. I personally hate people who aren't interesting. Asami-sensei explains. Yuri takes this in, taking a look at Asami's sword. She never used it fully against them, but they had all throw kunai at her and tried to injure her. Yuri frowns as she begins to think a little more about it. Seeing as it didn't make any sense to her, she points to Kenji. I'm Kenji Okawa. A fun fact. I can be a magnet. I hate Sasuke Uchiha. Yuri shakes her head and rolls her eyes. Almost every boy in CL hated Sasuke since he got a lot of attention from people. Seems like Kenji is one of those boys. Which annoys her to no end. Sasuke can't help it if he is attractive and a mystery to basically everyone. minus Yuri and Hinata, which made her feel good about knowing things about him the other girls didn't. Asami's sensei seemed to have noticed her eye roll and looks at her for a moment. Well, let's let the lady go next. She purrs. Yuri Chibana is the name. I have an ongoing bet with my friends about different things even when we play games. I don't hate many things. I hate when I lose a bet with Naruto since he normally makes me pull a prank. Yuri shrugs her shoulders and taps her fingers. She really disliked things. Hating things wasn't in her nature. It seemed like too much energy and she saw how it made Sasuke a drag most of the time. Asami sensei motions to Isamu. Oh, I'm Isamu Haruno. I have been told I have really good chakra control. I hate when my cousin doesn't want to talk to me at school. You're the fake princess. Yuri mumbles. She didn't mean for the words to come out of her mouth but they did. Maybe she should have said she hates Sakura and Ino, that might have pissed Isamu off enough. Maybe she shouldn't push her teammates' buttons, but she didn't care too much. This causes Isamu and Kenji to look at her. Yuri only shrugs. She won't say anything else about it, but she knew she was right about it. But Isamu nods. I'm seeing that now. Asami sensei claps her hand. Alright. Now, tomorrow we will have a mission. But be warned, I like to have fun on missions. Oh, and we are going to meet in an hour to eat. My treat only this time though. Yuri smiles and nods her head. Not wanting to say anything else as she didn't want it to come out that she disliked Sakura as much as she did. And how she thought Naruto was an idiot for liking Sakura as much as he did. She still thought he and Hinata would be cute, but Naruto is so thick that Yuri doesn't think even her yelling at him would get the message across. Alright, Isamu exclaims as he stands up. Kenji scoffs as Yuri only looks at Asami sensei who is looking at her as well. One thing I want to ask as a team though. Yuri, how were you able to tell I am around but you cannot track? Asami sensei's question takes Yuri off guard. Everything goes quiet as she feels the boys staring at her. She can explain the tasting chakra, but her use of the Byakugan would be a little harder to explain. And her silence only stretches on as she tries to think. My clan has a special ability to taste people's chakra. I can taste Jonin and high-level Chunin. You taste like grapefruit sensei. Yuri trails off as she doesn't say much else about her ability to track. For her though, Isamu steps in. She said she is just lucky in tracking sometimes. Though, I question how she found me. Asami sensei lets all the information hang in the air as she smiles. Lesson 1 for you guys. You need to trust each other. I understand you haven't had anyone to teach you about your clan Yuri, but we will figure out how you found Isamu. With that you are dismissed. Remember, 1 hour. The genin all nods and moves away. Yuri moves away as quickly as she can. Yuri had made a quick stop at home, she needed to take a breath. That was close to her revealing that she could absorb people's chakra. Something she didn't want to do until she talked to Jirya. And she didn't know when that was going to happen. Jirya was out of the village on a mission, so no one had been able to talk with him. After her stop at home, which was longer than she expected it to be, she began to make her way to their meeting place. Her mind is still racing. She was close to having to tell people about her clan. Something she didn't know that much about either. She only knew as much as she did because Sasuke and Shikamaru were smart. Add Hinata into the mix and they would be able to probably figure out anything. But that didn't make her feel any better about doing this. Yuri needed guidance, while Asami sensei might be able to help her, though she didn't know how to approach her just yet. As she walks she tastes a mature ripe taste with smaller tastes of honey and beef. Yuri begins to run and tackles Shikamaru. Shika. Yuri doesn't notice, but Ino does that. Shikamaru's face gets red when Yuri hugs him, knocking both of them to the ground. But Yuri doesn't mind, she knows Shikamaru is her comfort person. Naruto and Sasuke are close, but she likes the taste of Shikamaru more than the others. Plus, he knew everything she knew about her clan. So she missed being around him. Ow! Troublesome woman. It's only been a day. Shikamaru exclaims, but he doesn't force her off. At least, not until Kenji picks up Yuri. Getting a small yelp of surprise from Yuri. She is lifted in the air and she understands that Kenji is a strong person, and she imagines he will only get stronger with age. Yuri, why are you so calm with Isamu, and I bet when you see Shikamaru you get like this? Kenji asks. Yuri scrambles out of Kenji's hold, which she knows he lets her. She isn't as strong as he is. She notices Shikamaru standing up and sees a smirk on Ino's face. One she narrows her eyes at. Choji is just in the back, eating chips as normal. But she turns back to Kenji. I've known Shikamaru since I came here. Yuri explains. And he and I talked all the time in school. He would also let me hang out with him all the time. Isamu shakes his head and flicks Yuri on the back of the head. We are shinobi now, we have to be posed. Yuri turns around and narrows her eyes as Isamu. Posed? But why? That sounds so boring. Isamu narrows his own eyes as she feels someone trying to grab her as she ducks out of the way and moves a little closer to Shikamaru. Using him as a little shield. She didn't want to be picked up, and she would rather hide behind Shikamaru. Kenji shakes his head. Come on. It feels like you're the odd one out here, Yuri. Isamu and I know more about each other than we know about you. It seems like you might work better with Shikamaru on a team. I think I would switch with Yuri. Ino comments. That gets Yuri's attention as she looks at the blonde girl. Not saying anything for a moment. Why would Ino say something like that? She knows that the Ino-Shika-Cho formation is one of the strongest formations in the village. It would be a waste to break them up when the three heirs are all the same age. Not to mention, they are in their specific teams for a reason. I don't think you would survive on my squad. Your team is a capture and get information type squad. My team is a wild card. We can't have two people who are non-front line combat honestly. You have Shikamaru and Choji to protect you should conflict arise. Kenji and I are the combat team. Team 7 should they will be the main battlefront team as Sasuke and Naruto are good fighters. Sakura isn't, but she is good at thinking actions through. As of right now Shikamaru is your brains and a decent fighter because of how he thinks. Choji is the muscle, and where would that leave you? Yuri stares at Ino. This makes Ino go red in the face. I'm the boss of this team. They should be listening to me. No, they shouldn't, Yuri begins. Thinking you are the boss will eventually get your team killed. Thinking you are better will get them injured, and I don't want one of my best friends getting hurt. Shikamaru steps between Ino and Yuri. Looking ahead and not at either one of the girls. Enough, Yuri. Ino lets out a snort of some kind, but Shikamaru snaps his attention to Ino. You too, Ino. But Yuri tasted grapefruit and something new. She looks around and sees a same sensei walking with a man. She tilts her head and looks at Shikamaru. She notices that it looks like Ino was about to say something back to Yuri. She shrugs and turns back towards the senseis. Clearly their senseis were friends, and while Yuri didn't mind it, she found it off-putting they were going to be celebrating together. Ah, good, all 6 of you are here. Asami Sesni begins. Ma team, this is Asuma Sarutobi, Team 10's sensei. And Team 10 I am Asami Izumi. Yuri shares a look with Kenji and Isamu. Knowing that their sensei were cold to them. Almost calculated with them. Asami sensei planned their test to a T, and it was to mess with them so much that they had to work together. No one could have done that test alone. But Yuri looks at Asuma sensei. She tugs on the hem of Shikamaru's shirt and looks over to him. What? Shikamaru furrows his brows. That's all Yuri needs to know. Shikamaru is still annoyed at her for how she talked to Ino. Did she care? A little. She knows Ino is his teammate, but Ino is also just overly annoying. Once Ino grows up, maybe Yuri will like her and Sakura. Until then, nope. Your sensei has a strange taste. Yuri whispers as they follow everyone in. Shikamaru shakes his head. I can't help you here, Yuri. She nods and lets go of Shikamaru, falling in step with Ino. She doesn't say anything to Ino, and luckily Ino doesn't say anything to her. Yuri crosses her arms and looks at Asuma-sensei. She doesn't know what it is, and it bothers her. She would need to ask Sasuke or Hinata about it. How would she describe the taste? Mushy. That seems right. But she can't be too sure about it. Not to mention she is sad. Shikamaru seems a little more annoyed with her than usual. Frowning to herself, Yuri shakes her head. She needs to focus and figure out the taste of Asuma-sensei. Sadly, the silence between her and Ino doesn't last long. You have some real nerve. Ino whispers to her. Me. I know my place on my team a little better than you do. Maybe once you figure it out and stop being so obsessed with Sasuke, I can have a civil conversation with you. Yuri glances over to Ino. This seems to be the end of the conversation. Ino clenches her fist, which makes Yuri go back to her thoughts. But they seem to be distracted by Ino, which she isn't too thrilled about. Seeing as Ino seemed to always be mad at Yuri for just being friends with Sasuke. No way should she keep giving it some thought. But Ino's fists are released. Are you jealous I'm on a team with Shikamaru? The question catches Yuri off guard. She pauses in her step and looks at Ino. Should she be? Of course. Yuri wanted to be on a team with her friends. They had become a small family for her. Being away from them bothered her a lot. Logically, it makes sense for them to be separated though. Everything was going to be how it was. But she knows they will all flourish in their teams. Doesn't mean Yuri likes it. They have many clan children, plus her thrown into the mix. People don't know about her. Yuri only stares at Ino for a moment. But she finally has something to say. Why would I be? I am, of course, since Shikamaru is one of my best friends. But I would have loved to have Shikamaru and Sasuke on my team. Even Hinata. But no, I understand you. Choji and Shikamaru needed to be on the same team. It makes sense. Lots of things are logical in the teams. Shikamaru, Sasuke and I would be powerful, yeah, but it would create an imbalance like Iruka-sensei explained. Each team was put together for a reason. This creates another pause between the two girls. Ino can only stare at Yuri and Yuri can only stare at Ino. Neither of them move. Yuri doesn't even know if the rest of the group waited for them or are even sitting down yet. While Yuri would love for Ino to understand where she is coming from, Yuri doubts she will. You know, I am going to get stronger than you. Ino smiles and begins walking. This makes Yuri blink. What's with the sudden changes in topics? But Yuri doesn't back down to Ino and Sakura wanting things. No, she would make them work for it. Keep dreaming. I will buy you a meal if you ever beat me. Yuri catches up to Ino. Actually, let's make a bet about it. I make Jonin first, you need to buy me a meal. You make to Jonin first. I'll buy you a meal. Ino scoffs. A single meal. Seems pretty lame. How about making it more interesting? How? Yuri tilts her head and notices Shikamaru looking at the girls. So they did pause. Seeing Asuma looking between the girls and letting out a sigh. Shikamaru doesn't look amused by the girls talking to each other. Though, Yuri doesn't care that much. She was going to give Ino a run for her money, and no way in hell was she going to let Ino beat her. We do it by sparring match. Every 2 months we spar and I win, you have to listen to me for the whole month. Ino puts her hands on her hips. And I have a right to change my mind, right? After our first spar, sure. I win. You have to follow a training routine I make up for the next 2 months. Yuri smiles and holds out her hand. Ino takes it and Yuri is overwhelmed by salt. She has to hold her expression as they shake and Yuri walks away. Knowing she was close to taking Ino's chakra, only Shikamaru knew how bad this could have been. Shikamaru gives her a worried look as she sits between Kenji and Shikamaru. Yuri shakes her head and Shikamaru looks down at the table. She notices Ino sitting between Isamu and Choji. But Isamu seems a little tense. She elbows Kenji and nods her head towards Isamu. But Kenji only looks back at her confused. Yuri sighs and shakes her head. What is up with Kenji? He seems to be dense. She leans over to him. Look at Isamu. He seems to have a crush. Yuri looks at Kenji. He seems to kind of understand. Isn't this the same dumb thing all the girls did with Sasuke? Kenji asks, causing Yuri to shake her head. He's less annoying than the girls. Yuri comments. She and Ino make eye contact and Yuri smirks. She would beat Ino constantly. She needed to. But her attention is turned to Asuma. He is holding a cup up. Alright, a toast to our new little genin. Team 10, you killed it in your test. Team 9, I'm impressed you got through Asami's test. Only one other group managed. Asuma states. Yuri looks at Shikamaru, but he only shrugs. She would need to find that out. One team ever passed. That might say a lot about Asami Sensei and her style of teaching. She looks at Kenji and Isamu, who also look as confused as she is. Even the look on Ino's face tells Yuri she is also confused by this. Asami raises her glass. To the genin. Tomorrow though, we do some hard work. They all cheer. Asuma orders some food and Asami orders some as well. As they begin eating, as Kenji and Asuma put food on the grill, Choji takes it just as fast. Yuri looks at him and tilts her head. She looks at Shikamaru, who spends time with Choji, who looks annoyed. Yuri doesn't know what to do in this situation. And she wants to eat though. But every time something looks ready to eat, Choji takes it. Choji, slow down. Let everyone else get some. Shikamaru sighs, but lowers his voice. He does this all the time. Maybe you just need to stop being lazy. Yuri mumbles. What? No way. I can't let all this meat go to waste. Choji grabs some more food. Even before Yuri is able to grab anything. She freezes and looks at Choji, now eating something that Ino was also going to eat. She and Isamu lock eyes and Yuri can see how upset Isamu is about the whole thing as well. They all want to eat and Choji isn't allowing it. Which makes her frown. She likes food, but she can't get anything. But it does give her an idea. So she places some meat closer to Shikamaru and herself. So close that they would be able to get to it before Choji does. So we can eat as well. She whispers. Yuri notices that Isamu did the same thing with Ino, keeping the meat out of reach of Choji. She smiles to herself as Shikamaru nods. He sits back and sets his chopsticks down. Making Yuri cook the food, and was she going to get him back for it? Yes she was. Choji, stop that, or else you'll get FA, Asuma begins. Shikamaru moves quicker than she had ever seen Shikamaru move. He covers Asuma's mouth as Shikamaru whispers something to Asuma. Everyone blinks at the sudden movement from Shikamaru. Yuri notices Asami Sensei with an amused smile on her face. What was that? Yuri looks at Choji and sees him actually upset. Asuma was saying how fabulous you are and to order as much meat as you want. Shikamaru quickly covers. Really? Alright. 2 more orders of meat. Choji raises a hand up and begins to eat some more. Yuri looks at Ino and sees that she also was holding her breath. But one look at Asuma and can tell he isn't thrilled about this arrangement. Shikamaru comes back and sits down next to Yuri. Asami Sensei laughs and begins to tease Asuma Sensei about the situation. Though, Yuri doesn't pay attention to it. What was that about? Yuri whispers to Shikamaru. There's one word forbidden around Choji. I had to stop Asuma from saying it. I learned the hard way when we were kids. Shikamaru grabs some meat before it burns and puts it on Yuri's plate. I see, so you stopped Asuma Sensei before things started. Yuri looks at Shikamaru. He doesn't even look at her as he puts some meat on his own plate. But a small nod tells her he is trying to prevent anything from happening. Feeling the conversation done, Yuri turns to Kenji and leans over to him. What do you think it means that only one other team has passed before us? Yuri tilts her head. It means, Asuma Sensei cuts in, she had a team before you guys. They all made Chunin a year or so ago. Other teams didn't have teamwork, so they failed or couldn't find each other. She loves her hide and seek test. Yuri and Kenji look at each other, then back at Asuma Sensei. And what about you? Kenji asks. How many teams have you passed? Asuma sits back and thinks about it for a moment. Well, a handful. Understand, there are only so many Jonin teachers in the village. There are at least 4 or 5 currently teaching Genin. Myself, Asami, Guy, Kurenai, a Hyuga who got a mixed team last year and a few others who still have Genin. We are still waiting for Kakashi to fail his team. Yuri nodded her head as she pressed her lips together. How many Jonin teachers are there that willingly take on Genin teams? About 10 of us all together. That's why there are normally 10 teams. Some years we have more. This year we had to get a few extra Jonins since we heard there were a lot of talented students this year that could pass. Asuma takes a bite of his food. Asami and I have been in the mix for a while. Kurenai is a new Jonin and they thought a team of Genin would help her. Yuri and Kenji share a look when Kenji speaks up. Asami sensei doesn't seem like the teacher type. Oh, she isn't. Asuma laughs. But she is a good teacher. Learn as much as you can from her. Yuri and Kenji nod. Asuma leans back and ends the conversation, leaving Yuri to only eat as she listens to Team 10 bickering. Well, Ino and Choji bickering. Shikamaru stayed out of it or commented on how much of a drag it was. Naruto and Jiraiya's home. Yuri stands on the doorstep. While she was walking home after some training, Jiraiya was back. She needed to speak to him. They just spent the afternoon chasing a cat around the village. And spent the morning training with Asami sensei. Which was hard. She wanted to spar. And as my sensei made it near impossible. Saying they all needed to get stronger. What did they do? They ran laps. Not just normal laps though. Asami sensei was throwing objects at them and got bored with that. So she created obstacles for the trio to get around. She shakes her head. Training was hard, but fun. She had tasted Jiraiya in the house, luckily she couldn't taste Naruto. Knocking on the door, Jiraiya opens the door a moment later. Ah, Yuri. Glad to see you. I heard you passed your test. And thankfully Naruto also passed. I haven't heard about their team passing. Did you? Jiraiya moves aside to allow Yuri to walk into the house. I did. My team though is rather strange. Yuri says as she walks into the house and takes off her shoes. Asami sensei mentioned that 4 teams passed. Hers, Asuma sensei, Kurenai sensei and Kakashi sensei. All teams are. Let me make you some tea. I feel like you have something on your mind. Jiraiya walks through the house and Yuri follows. Ah, I think I heard about Kakashi finally passing a team. Naruto seemed upset about his sensei being late yesterday and the day before. I guess he is on Kakashi's team then. She sits down at the table and lets out a long sigh. There is. Jiraiya, you traveled a lot, right? She figured this was the best way to move into talking about this with Jiraiya. She wanted to know some more information about her family. And she heard from Naruto that Jiraiya had traveled a lot. He was even beginning to teach Naruto more about sealing and how it works. Which made her happy Naruto was learning. Jiraiya was also trying to teach Naruto more basic things he should have learned in the academy that seemed to have slipped Naruto's mind so easily. I have. Jiraiya comes and sits down with the young girl. Is there somewhere you would like to know about specifically? My village I came from. We were not a ninja village and we stayed in the land of fire. Never taking missions. I wanted to know if you had ever been there. Yuri looks down at the table and waits. There is a pause. She doesn't dare look up. She now worries she put too much hope in Jiraiya knowing anything about her family. Something that she probably shouldn't do as it might just bring her great pain and she would be at the same spot she was before. Nothing was going to work out, though she had to try still. The Chibana clan. Not well known nor well documented. I spent a little time there before this generation was born after the Third Great Shinobi War. I wasn't allowed to write anything down and was sworn to never speak about it. Until the elder came out and said one day I would. But the information they could give me was limited. Jiraiya pauses as Yuri looks back to him. A village elder. Yuri looks up and tilts her head. They didn't have that title in the village. They only had the chief and everyone else. Right. They were called chiefs for you. Jiraiya smiles. He must not know. Yuri was in line to be the chief of her family. And that was something she looked forward to. But now, she is the chief, and it's the chief of herself since she didn't know if her own family was alive. You might have spoken to my grandmother, or mother. I think my mother took over after the war, but the Chibana didn't partake in the wars. Yuri clenches her fist together. I see. What do you know about your clan, little one? Jiraiya learns on the table. Yuri pauses. But she remembers Shikamaru and Sasuke had mentioned Jiraiya might know something. And they would trust Jiraiya to not tell anyone. She needed some information and Jiraiya might be able to get the information. While the land of fire is large, there are some small families that didn't join the village. Her own family being one of them. I don't know much. Just that I was to be the next clan head and what I have in scrolls. And I don't understand my family's just you. She trails off, not knowing much and being able to fit it all in a sentence is heartbreaking. What's happening? They were very tight-lipped about what they could do. I managed to get some information. With a slow nod, Yuri begins speaking. With good reason. I know I have developed my family's just you. I can taste people's chakra. Well, only Jonin and high-level Chunin currently. But not only that, and this is the part they wanted to keep hidden. I can absorb chakra and use that person's justice. Even blood specific. There is a moment of silence. Yuri begins to worry that Jiraiya is going to be upset about her abilities and could attack her. She doesn't know how this is going to go. Even Hinata and Sasuke were freaked out about the fact Yuri was able to do these things. She wouldn't be surprised if one of the legendary Sannin were wary of her. Whose chakra have you absorbed? And who else knows about this? Jiraiya's expression becomes grave, and she worries she messed up. Shikamaru, Sasuke and Hinata know. My team only knows about the tasting chakra, and I have Shikamaru, Sasuke, Hinata and Naruto's chakra. Yuri speaks quickly and wants to get it out of the way. Another moment of silence as Jiraiya thinks about what has just been said to him. Yuri only waits. And she waits. Jiraiya's face doesn't change though as he thinks about the information. She shouldn't have told him about Hinata's chakra. She knows how that family is with their family justice, and Yuri has it. Someone who shouldn't have the Byakugan has it. Show me. Yuri nods and activates the Byakugan. But she can still only hold it for a few seconds. She looks at Jiraiya after it deactivates. Jiraiya looks surprised but gets up and tends to the tea. Following another great pause in the space. One Yuri isn't liked. She looks at the table and doesn't say anything. Yuri is only worried about how Jiraiya is going to handle this. She presses her lips together as she waits. Finally Jiraiya turns back to Yuri. I see. And only those three know everything. Yuri nods her head as Jiraiya hands her a cup. And yes, your family wanted to make sure people didn't know about this. It was something they never wanted to get out. When I was there I was told a few things. Yes, you can copy people's just you, and learn them if that person teaches you it. Especially Keke Genki abilities. I'm guessing Hinata has taught you some things since you can use the Byakugan. Your taste of chakras is also unique and they didn't touch much on it. Just that families have similar tastes. Since I know you are around the Naras, I am guessing you figured that out. As your powers develop it's going to get worse for a while, and if you absorb someone's chakra who goes against the flow you have, it will harm you. But that is all I know. Yuri looks up to Jiraiya and wraps her hands around the cup. That's it. Jiraiya nods. Sadly yes. Though the chief mentioned that they had something that hid all their information, maybe since you are a genin, you could go there. I don't think anyone else would be able to do it but you. Really? Maybe in the future. Yuri's eyes light up. She could go to her home and maybe find out about her clan. It would mean so much to her. And it would help her out even more in the long run. She didn't have anyone to teach her how to use these powers and her mother was supposed to teach her when she got older. Cotton candy comes into Yuri's mouth. She looks around. Naruto is coming. He doesn't know about any of this though. Got it. We will end it here. I'll see what I can dig up about the village. Jiraiya winks as Naruto come barreling in. He has gotten quicker with age and she blinks as he comes in. Sharing a look with Jiraiya. She needs this after everything she and Jiraiya just talked about. She didn't want or need Naruto to know about this yet. Stupid sensei. Why the hell do I have to be on the dumb Sasuke's team? Oh, and I'm finding out Sakura is so useless. Believe it. Naruto yells as he pauses in the kitchen. Yuri, you're here. She offers him a smile. I heard you passed and wanted to come by and see you. It isn't a lie. After lunch she and Kenji heard that Kakashi's team had passed. Which made her happy. That and the fact they saw Sakura and she talked with Kenji for a moment. She was glad Kenji had someone else to talk to though. But she wanted to find Naruto and tell him good job. And she wanted to know what his team had to do. Oh yeah, Kakashi Sensei's test wasn't that hard. Believe it, we passed with flying colors. And we had our first mission. It was all about pulling some lady's weeds. It was so boring. Naruto basically yells. Yuri nods a little, that made sense. They were doing D-ranked missions at the moment. Meaning they were easy and getting them used to the life of a ninja. Though, Asami Sensei seemed to have other plans. Jiraiya hands Naruto a cup of tea. Drink up, Naruto. Naruto only looks at the tea and frowns. I don't wanna drink this. I want some ramen. With a small pause, Jiraiya smiles. He is the only adult that seemed to be able to control Naruto and outwit him most of the time. Something even Iruka Sensei wasn't able to do. And Jiraiya was teaching him basic skills he should have known before he graduated. Oh no you don't. I cooked today and you, me and if Yuri wishes, are going to have a nice meal today. And don't try leaving. Jiraiya smiles as he and Naruto stare at each other. I'll leave if I want. Naruto gets up and tries to jump out the window. But he bounced back. Ow. What the hell, pervy sage. Jiraiya turns back to cooking. Oh, I forgot to mention, until you can use the seal I taught you a month ago to get out of the house. You won't be able to leave for the whole night. Yuri presses her lips together and tries to keep her face even. She loves eating with Jiraiya and Naruto. As they do act like family, which makes things funny. Especially when Naruto is acting like a brat. She doesn't tell Jiraiya things Naruto does, but he seems to know. Hence he places seals on the house and he thinks ahead and places them on Naruto constantly. He never realizes it, but she can taste Jiraiya's toad chakra on Naruto a lot. Meaning, seals. While Naruto can figure it out, he learns quicker when it is done to him. Which amuses Yuri when she is here. Along with Shikamaru when he tags along. When she tells Sasuke about it, it even gets a laugh out of him. Pervy sage. I want to go out. Come on. I'm a working man now. Naruto whines. No Naruto. We are going to have a nice meal. I just got back and we are going to hang out. Jiraiya puts on an apron and goes to the kitchen. Jiraiya and Naruto stare at each other once again. Seeming to forget that Yuri is there, but she doesn't mind. She likes watching them argue. Naruto doesn't just roll over and give up like Shikamaru or Sasuke do with their parents. Naruto argues back. Naruto looks at Yuri. And you were just here. Yeah, I like hanging out with Jiraiya. And I haven't seen you since we got our squads. Yuri shrugs. Since you hang out with Shikamaru the whole time. What's going on there? Naruto gets up and raises an eyebrow at Yuri. Jiraiya pokes his head out. Oh, do we have a cute little relationship between Yuri and Shikamaru? She looks between Jiraiya and Naruto. Of course she brings Shikamaru over here and drags Naruto to Shikamaru's, but she liked her friends hanging out. Especially because Naruto and Shikamaru are so different from each other. It just makes their whole friendship that much more fun in her mind. It's nothing. Shika is one of my best friends. Unlike Naruto who's too dense to see, someone has a crush on him. Yuri retorts. This gets a pure look of confusion from Naruto and an amused grin from Jiraiya. She won't ever say Hinata's name, oh no. But she feels bad for Hinata, and feels Sasuke is right. Naruto is an idiot and she shouldn't be wasting her time on him. Which seemed to have gotten through only recently. Yuri and Sasuke were encouraging her to still be friends with Naruto, but she should look at other people. No use for her to wait around for him. Oh, and who is the unfortunate girl who likes Naruto? Jiraiya asks. I can tell you Naruto, it's not Sakura. She's so obsessed with Sasuke. No, I'll give you a hint since you look so confused. Who is the shyest girl in our class? Yuri smirks. Naruto crosses his arms and thinks for a moment. That's when Yuri realizes, Naruto was so focused on Sakura he didn't pay any attention to any other girl in class. She is happy that she's encouraging Hinata to look at other people. Make sure she does want Naruto. Though, if Hinata knows, she knows. Doesn't mean she should wait for Naruto though. What? No way is it Hinata. I thought she liked Sasuke too. Naruto finally exclaims. Yuri shakes her head. Oh no, she has a thing for you, you dimwit. Jiraiya steps in. Alright children, calm down. Naruto. Jiraiya puts a hand on Naruto's head. I want you to listen to me carefully. Really pay attention to Hinata and see how she acts around you. And I want you to really think about why you like this Sakura girl. What do you know about her and how does she treat you? Naruto huffs and crosses his arms. Fine. I doubt he will. Sakura treats him like crap. She shoves him aside when she sees Sasuke. Yuri chimes in. She does not. She's been nicer. Naruto yells at Yuri. Doubt it. She is still in love with Sasuke. Which is dumb. Yuri sticks her tongue out at Naruto. Enough. Jiraiya whacks both of them. Naruto, you don't need to have a crush on someone that doesn't like you. You cannot force someone to like you. But you can build something with Hinata. I get it, pervy sage, and Hinata and I are kind of friends. Naruto comments. Yuri laughs and she shakes her head. She doesn't say anything as she doesn't want Jiraiya to bestow his knowledge to him. What about Yuri? I think some people have a crush on her. Naruto smirks. Oh, that is something different. Again, unless she likes someone, we can't force her. I've learned in my time that girls like being chased, not the ones chasing. So Yuri, take your time and pick whoever you want that is chasing you. If he isn't chasing you, he's not worth it. Especially if he is chasing other people. What the hell, pervy sage? She gets off easy but you give me a lecture. Naruto yells. This causes a laugh from Jiraiya. Boy, when you get older, you'll understand, women hold a lot more power in a relationship than we do. A few weeks had passed and even Yuri admitted, the D-ranked missions were getting boring. Catching a cat, pulling weeds, and even babysitting was entertaining for only so long. Yuri especially hated the wild goose chase of finding someone's chicken when they made it back to the home before Team 9 could get there. Team 9 had just gone to find a bull that got out that needed to be returned. They are standing in front of the third Hokage, who tastes similar to Asuma Sensei. Since the third is Asuma's father, it makes sense they taste the same. Yuri found out Asuma Sensei tastes like pumpkin. After many taste tests by Asami Sensei, Yuri knew about a lot more food. She guessed the third tasted like banana squash. Yuri was also getting seals from Naruto now, which made her happy. And she was managing to not tell her team about the other part of abilities. Which was getting harder to do since she tried to train with her friends once a week. And they were all getting stronger. It made sense though, for them to all get stronger. Especially with Asami Sensei. But she was training them hard. They had trained with Kakashi and Asuma's teams. Kakashi's to get their fighting up, and resistance to illusionary just use since Sakura had an ability for that. Which surprised Isamu and Yuri. Sakura was so good at it. She trapped both of them many times in that aspect. It was good training though. Sasuke and Naruto were both faster and gave Kakashi's team a chance to deal with the chaotic energy that was Asami's team. They had no set plan and just did what was natural. If they thought of the move, Asami said to go with the last move they thought of. Which worked. Even Asuma's team struggled to keep up with Asami's team. Ino was the best one at predicting their moves since they jumped around all over the place. Ino was even better at setting traps. And Ino's chakra control was getting better thanks to Isamu apparently. Choji was training with a staff that hurt so much when he hit any of them with. And Shikamaru was still lazy, but he was better at catching Yuri in her thoughts. Asami Sensei was trying to schedule what she liked to call a play date with Kurenai's team. That team they hadn't had a chance to hang out and train with just yet. It bothered her a little, but Yuri would wait for it. Hinata mentioned that Kiba might give Kenji a run since he was only getting faster as time went on. Good job Team 9. Another successful mission. There is a pause. Asami taught them really quick to not speak out of turn. Especially Yuri, since she was friends with Naruto. But she only got a bruise from it since Asami Sensei pinched her on the arm for a moment. Yuri learned really quickly to remain silent. As always. Is there another mission for us, Lord Hokage? Asami Sensei asks. Asami Sensei was always respectful and quick to give them another mission. In the field though, she changed their missions drastically. They had to jump around or she told them they had to go through a single path, sometimes cutting off the easiest part. Which, sometimes made the mission more fun. Especially when they tried to break the rules and Asami Sensei made the missions harder since they broke rules. But they broke them together and they were getting smarter about it. The Hokage leans forward. I have a mission that was specially requested from Master Jiraiya himself. Says he believes only this team can do it. This will be Team 9's first C-rank mission. Of course. Please tell us the details. Asami Sensei seems to be pleased with this. This is an easy mission. You are remaining in the land of fire. There are ruins of a village that once stood. Jiraiya wants you to go there and look for information about the clan that lived there and how they were killed. There shouldn't be anyone in the area, hence why this is a C-ranked mission. The Hokage explains. Yuri tilts her head. A village in the land of fire. Could it be? Yuri doesn't want to get her hopes up, but she also doesn't want to see the state her village is in. Understood. Do we know the clan name? Asami Sensei asks. The Hokage smiles. The Chibana clan. Yuri presses her lips together and she feels her team look at her. She didn't know if they knew the reason she had come to the village. Hell, she didn't even tell Shikamaru or Sasuke about the two people she saw going around killing her family. She never had the heart to and she didn't know if she ever could. No way in hell was she explaining that to her team. I can give you a small history. They were a clan that were brought in the Warring States period, but they tried staying out of it. They remained out of the village under the understanding that they were not going to use their justus, which many people don't know about. We have the only survivor of it as she is in your team. We think she can get the last information about the clan. Jiraiya specifically asked for this team. Even I do not know about the clan's abilities as it was agreed when the first Hokage formed the village. You leave tomorrow. Asami Sensei smiles at the Hokage and shoos her genin outside. Knowing they have been dismissed from the office and need to get a move on. They have a mission and Asami Sensei seemed pleased to take them out of the village. But once they are out of the tower and before anyone can say anything, Yuri tastes Naruto and Sasuke. She looks at them and goes up to Naruto, who is holding a cat. Looking especially upset about the cat. And she knows what cat it is. The most annoying cat to capture and tends to get out a lot, she does not pity them getting the cat. Hey, do you or Jiraiya have any open sealing scrolls? So I can seal things into them. Yuri stops in front of Naruto. I think Pervy Sage does. Why? Naruto almost lets go of the cat but it scratches him as he looks at it. Yuri puts her hands behind her back and smiles. I might need some. Even before Naruto can reply, Asami Sensei drags Yuri away. Pulling Yuri by her arm as she looks at Kakashi. She hated his taste. Burnt toast. When she told Asami Sensei about it, she began laughing. She even started crying with how funny it was. Sorry Kakashi, I would love to chat about our next playdate, but we have a mission and it seems my genin needs to get some information before we head out tomorrow. Asami makes it a point to tug Yuri to her. Kakashi raises an eyebrow. Oh, well, good luck with that. I have some special training for my team tomorrow. Inspired by you so we can get the upper hand on your genin. Asami nods and moves away while almost dragging Yuri away. She can look back and see Sakura has a smirk on her face, which causes Yuri to roll her eyes. But Sasuke looks a little concerned by the fact Yuri is being dragged away. She might have to tell him about the mission and how her team might have to learn all about her. They move to the training grounds and Asami has all three genin sit down. Alright Yuri. Now, I know there is something else you aren't telling us. And while I haven't pushed it, we need to know. Now, Asami Sensei remains standing with her arms crossed. Yuri presses her lips together. She didn't want to tell them anything personally, in fact she doesn't want to talk about it at all. She needed to think of a way to maybe deflect it. Why would Jiraiya do this and not warn her about it? She could have prepared to tell them something. Yuri isn't good at being put on the spot. Yuri begins. Yes. Tell us Yuri. We want to know. You seem to know a lot about our clans and how we work. Isamu exclaims. Kenji nods. I agree. And this is a mission for your clan. Asami remains silent. Yuri thinks a little. She could avoid it, not telling them anything about her clan and how they were murdered in front of her. Along with not letting them know she can copy people. Which could cause a rift in her team not trusting her. Or, she could tell them and watch them freak out like Shikamaru thinks they will. Clans like to keep their powers a secret. And Yuri being able to know those secrets and use them against that family isn't good. She needs to decide if telling them is going to be in her favor. The one it would cause a thing with is Kenji, since he has a special family just you. Metal release. It could cause them to not trust her anyway and turn away from her. Plus, she felt like she had become friends with Kenji, so what should she even do? She needs to make a choice on it. Finally Yuri lets out a sigh. Fine, I don't know that much about my clan, what I do know is from a limited number of scrolls and training with some friends. I am the one who talked to Master Jiraiya about these weird powers that have been happening to me. There is a pause as Yuri thinks again. There is a second part to being able to taste people's chakras. I can absorb people's chakras and use them, but only if they teach me how to use it. Yuri looks down and doesn't look at her team. There is silence. She is waiting for them to explode on her. She is prepared for them to tell her to leave. Which she would go to, she didn't know. Word might spread about her abilities and she wasn't ready for that. In her village, everyone had this ability, but it wasn't normal here. She knew that. How painfully aware she was of that. She couldn't use anything she copied from Hinata, Sasuke or Shikamaru. But that never stopped her from working with them. It helped them figure out how to counter it better. Though, she might not be able to work on it any longer. So, when you managed to find me? Isuma asks quietly. She nods her head. I absorbed Hinata's chakra, so I was able to do something. I had to make sure no one was around. I'm guessing you didn't want to tell us because it would be bad. Kenji asks. Slowly Yuri nods. Shikamaru thought it would be best. Since he is the smart one, he worried people would be worried and hunt me. There is another small pause. She had to admit that she felt that Shikamaru was correct in his thoughts. He grew up in the leaf. So she would follow what he said. And she wasn't going to argue with him at this point. I see. Asami Sensei begins. Yuri look up. Yuri does so. Listen to me, we are not going to let that happen. We are a team. Is that why you don't let us touch you? But when we fight Shikamaru, Sasuke and Naruto, you are fine. Yes. I already took their chakra. So I won't take it anymore, at least as far as I know. Yuri frowns and lets her eyes wander. She can't look at anyone on her team right now. She doesn't look at their faces, since she feels like she might cry at any moment. And Yuri doesn't want her team to see that. It would make her look weak. Yuri doesn't want that. She has been so careful about not taking chakra from them, it was hard when sparring. And you haven't taken our chakra? Isamu asks. Yuri shakes her head. No, I have been trying to avoid that. Let me see. Asami-sensei holds out her hand. Her glove off. Yuri takes Asami's hand and the taste of grapefruit intensifies even more. Yuri tilts her head and she feels a little stronger. It was the first time Yuri could tell the transfer of chakra. And of her taking the chakra. It felt weird, she couldn't tell with the others, but with Asami-sensei it feels different. Maybe because of the power difference between them. Asami-sensei only stares at Yuri as she absorbs the chakra. Yuri pulls her hand away though, she feels like it was the right time and if she took any more it would be overkill. She doesn't know what changed, but something changed in her. I see. Asami-sensei throws her sword at her. I want you to try to open it. Yuri looks at the sword and shrugs. It's a sword. How hard could it be? She just has to open it. But she can't open it. She keeps trying for a few more seconds trying to get it open. She looks at the sword and back at Asami-sensei. Focus on my chakra. See if you can pull it forward. Asami instructs. Yuri focuses but she can't seem to get to it. Even with all her strength, Yuri can't seem to get the thing to open up. It annoys her. She got the other chakras right away, why couldn't she get Asami-sensei's? She pulls and tugs it until Asami-sensei pulls it away. Well, we are going to work on that. But right now it is something simple. Asami-sensei holds up a paper. These are chakra papers. We are going to discover your chakra natures. Which will help us find out the types of justice you can use easier. Asami holds the paper and it cuts in half. Getting a gasp from the genin sitting on the ground. All of them watching the paper floating to the ground. Asami-sensei pauses for dramatic effect. She smiles at the genin with their eyes wide. I have wind-type chakra. You will infuse your chakra and we can figure it out. Kenji, Yuri and Isuma get a small piece of paper. Asami stands back as they look at the paper. Yuri focuses her chakra on the paper. It begins to get wet. She looks to Isuma and sees it's not in his hand. With Kenji, it's wrinkled and cut in half. The three look between each other and back to their sensei. I see. Isamu, you have earth chakra. Yuri, you have water. Kenji, you have lighting and wind style. I'm guessing that's what makes your magnet. I have some ideas for justice to learn. Yuri, for you it will be important in battles you only use your nature type. Only use your clan's ability if we are going to die. Asami-sensei looks at her directly. Understood. The Nara's home. Yuri wanted to have dinner with the Naras before her mission. So she could talk to Shikamaru about something, mostly her team and the way she had to tell them. Clearly Sasuke and Hinata had the same thought. They all meet at Shikamaru's to hang out. She even stopped by Naruto's home to get some scrolls to seal the information in. Kakashi's team had gotten a mission as well since the house was a mess with Naruto running around trying to gather things. Jiraiya had some to spare and figured Yuri would need it for her mission. Yuri was rather short with Jiraiya and he didn't push it. She had been pouting about it a lot before she got to Shikamaru's home. Shikamaru, Hinata and Sasuke all sit with Yuri in Shikamaru's room. All silent since she explained her mission and having to tell her team about the ability she has. It was a lot to take in and Yuri still didn't understand. She looked around a lot while explaining the information. Which she hated doing, but it didn't have to stop there. Yuri was so nervous. Luckily they didn't freak out. Shikamaru says. He stretches out and lets out a yawn. Yuri looks at him and shakes her head. But more people know, and you have Asami-sensei's chakra, Hinata stammers out. With a slow nod, Yuri is glad that she wasn't kicked out of the team. She liked them a lot and she enjoyed Asami's teaching style. It made her think and kept her on her toes. Yuri preferred to be on this team, while she was upset she wasn't on her friend's team, it faded since she was working well with her team. She liked training with Kenji and beating Isamu in things. I know. But Jiraiya sent in this mission. So we have to do it. I think I would rather go to the land of waves like Sasuke, Yuri mumbles. Sasuke shakes his head. Not with the idiot and Sakura. Yuri punches Sasuke in the arm. Give them a chance, dimwit. Naruto might be weak and Sakura is as well, but if you keep that up, And not trying. Who will want to work with you? This was a constant conversation that they had, Sasuke not wanting to be a team player. He was such a brat when it came to Sakura and Naruto. And both of them were trying from what Yuri had seen. Sasuke was the issue most of the time. He caused fights in training and Kakashi didn't do much. Meaning the taste of burnt toast expanded to his personality. She didn't think it was good for Sasuke, but he had her, Shikamaru and Hinata to keep him in line. Which is what they like to do, constantly. She is right. Team 10 started off rough, but Asuma Sensei let us nap after training. Even Ino naps with us. Shikamaru comments. Yuri can hear the smile in his voice. Yeah, Kurenai Sensei Al also takes us out, and she encourages Shino, Kiba and I too, to hang out after. Yuri smiles at Hinata's words. Kiba had a loud mouth and Shino was quiet. But she thinks Shino and Hinata talk when it's just them. Kiba tended to take over a conversation all the time. It made her happy about it. Sasuke scoffs. Like that will make me stronger. Shikamaru instantly gets Sasuke in a shadow possession. Maybe once you can get out of it. But until then, you need us and we need you. Don't you see? We work together and we get stronger. You are stronger because your ego won't allow you to be on the same level as Sakura and Naruto. You know who might be stronger than you? Shino. Maybe spar with him. Sasuke glares at Shikamaru, but when Shikamaru lays down, so does Sasuke. This causes Hinata and Yuri to look at each other. Since they had gotten into their teams, Shikamaru had become a little more vocal about how Sasuke acted. It still surprised Yuri when Shikamaru spoke out. She knows it was super annoying. Shikamaru was always annoyed with Sasuke about this. Shika is right. Shino could beat you. Yuri chimes in as Shikamaru retracts his shadow. You can't think you are the best when you ignore people. Sasuke looks at the three of them. Even a little of a glare. She only shrugs her shoulders. Yuri wasn't one to get into these arguments. And plus, Shino was strong. He was number 3 in the cloud of the boys all the time. He couldn't beat Kenji and Sasuke in fighting hand to hand. That was the only reason he wasn't at the top. It was upsetting, sure, but Shino was the questiest of all of them. Finally Sasuke looks at Hinata. Is Shino stronger? Yuri watches Hinata and sees her cheeks change a little as she looks down. Yuri tilts her head, curious about the reaction. I think so, Shino is a good fighter and while he can't keep up with Kiba in hand to hand, he can pin Kiba down. Hinata gets out. Yuri tilts her head and decides to keep the information to herself. Hinata was shy, yes, but she wasn't blushing as much unless they were talking about Naruto. And seeing that little color in her cheeks told Yuri she was moving on from Naruto a little. It was better for them. Yuri would think Hinata even having a crush on someone else would be much better. Expand her taste. Much like Ino and Sakura. Though, Yuri didn't purposely make Hinata mad like Ino and Sakura. It was getting harder to get under their skins. So she needed to think about a way to annoy them. A scoff comes from both the boys, but Sasuke speaks up. After my mission, fine. Shino and I should spar. I'll show you all that I am still top of the class. Yuri shakes her head. Leave it to Sasuke to try to prove he is the best of the best. It was amusing, sure, but it also worried her. Why only think of power when he could have others to rely on? It wouldn't make sense to her. A small lull comes over the four. Yuri didn't mind. She enjoyed it when they were silent and not wanting to push Sasuke too far. It wouldn't be fun after that point. It would be too much and they didn't want to push Sasuke away. They teased each other for sure, minus Hinata, but it was a nice balance most of the time. You know, if you are going to your old village and they have information, you could learn how to control the powers a little better. Not to mention, understanding why. Yuri looks at Shikamaru. I know. I didn't want to tell my team the way I had to. Yuri curls up into a ball. Sasuke scoots closer to her. Something that even shocks her when he pokes her forehead. Something she had seen him do with Ikika a lot more. Especially when she was pouty. Yuri puts a hand on her forehead and frowns at Sasuke. It doesn't matter. Eventually they had to learn about it. One person I think shouldn't know is Kakashi. He might be the only one to freak out about the information. Asuma seems like another good adult or Shikaku. He explains. You're right, Shikaku would be good, he knows a lot. Hinata nods her head. Surprisingly Shikamaru remains silent. But when Yuri looks at him he turns his face back towards the ceiling. She doesn't understand why though. It is something that they did a lot in the group. But Sasuke never poked Yuri before. You're both right. I just need to stop worrying so much. Yuri pauses. But can we all celebrate that Sasuke actually tried to comfort me? Sasuke's face gets red as he turns away and stands up. I need to pack for my mission. I'll see you guys after. Yuri looks at Hinata and they both laugh. I should pack too. But come on. How often do we get a chance to tease Sasuke? The next morning, after packing the night before, Yuri takes a deep breath. They would travel for 2 days and reach the village. They might spend a few nights in the village and then come back. At most it should be a week. About the same time for Naruto and his team. They had left a little earlier in the day than Yuri's team. She spots Kenji up ahead. Walking up to him she smiles. While Kenji doesn't say anything to her right away, she hopes he is excited. She wanted to put yesterday behind her and move forward. But she couldn't help but feel a little nervous about the idea of being with her team and them knowing about her powers now. Are you ready, Kenji? We get to leave the village. Yuri smiles and bounces a little. There is a pause. A long one, and Yuri worries that Kenji is going to not answer her. It leaves a moment for her thoughts to begin to swirl. What if Kenji doesn't want to be around her anymore? Or fight against her anymore? She worried she might accidentally take Kenji's abilities and she wouldn't know what to do with them. She tastes grapefruit and turns around to see Asami Sensei and Isamu walking towards them. I just hope it all goes well. Kenji mumbles.